chaos is definitely a word one can use when referring to most South African municipalities. From qualified audits to a lack of service delivery, many municipalities are just not delivering. And now the Sasolburg business community in the Free State is planning to protest at the Metsimaholo local municipality's doorstep. It's accusing the municipality of favouring companies from outside the area at the expense of local business. The municipality has also been accused of allocating irregular or illegal tenders. To speak to us about this municipal governance or lack thereof, we're joined by Dr. Harlan Cloete from the Free State University. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Doc. And maybe if you could just give us a broad sense of a wider scope of issues that are existing at the Metsimaholo municipality at the moment.
Good morning, and good morning to all the viewers. I think it is not a surprise. If you look at the Constitution is very clear that local government have got a particular role to play when it comes to local economic development. It says it must promote social and economic development. And we've done a study for the local government CETA in 2020 to look at the capacity of the local economic development units. As you very well know, that all municipalities have got local economic development departments that are staffed by people that are supposed to do exactly that, promote local economic development. Sadly, our study found already in 2020 that we do not have the sufficient capacity at the LED level for these officials to really then facilitate an environment, an enabling environment. Look, government is not an employment agency, but certainly what local government must do is to create a conducive environment for the local economy to thrive.
And that's one of the big issues, in that we are needing local economies across the country to be thriving. And so instances of this nature are quite worrying. What would you say, with the protest that is now being called for, would be the immediate solutions to try and deal with these matters? Because obviously these are some deep-seated issues that won't be resolved in a short span of time, or via a protest for that matter.
You see, economic inclusion is at the heart of it. Black South Africans have been complaining for a long time that black people have got political power, but they do not have economic power, and that economic inclusion is at the heart of transformation. And so in a lot of these towns, if you look at the established towns, they are organized business units, and mostly well organized within the white business community. And then you have also this fragmentation. So you would have a predominantly white business chamber. Then you would have a struggling black business chamber. And I think if those two chambers, for example, if we can have a discussion at the local level about how do we take this town forward, because certainly economic exclusion is not sustainable, like we've now seen in Sasolburg, where the municipality is accused of using the procurement process to appoint outside people. And the logic of local economic development is that a functional local economic development department should create those conducive environments and not working in silos. We have found that in a lot of municipalities, you've got a LED department in a little corner there that is not really speaking to the supply chain, that's not speaking to a community development department. And so we have got this fragmented silo approach to local economic development. Like I said, it is not sustainable. And so it starts, I believe, with the local internal discussion about how do we use our procurement spend of municipalities to facilitate that enabling economic development that would stimulate the local economy, because it is about buying local and supporting local first.
And one of the important things to note here, as we implement what you've just explained to us and stop operating or taking on the silo approach to economic growth, as you've mentioned, would be increased oversight, Doc, to make sure that these procurement processes and other processes to stimulate local economic growth are followed and are followed correctly. Are you finding that currently there is a lack of adequate oversight and that this needs to increase should these positive implementations be made?
I think there's a problem with the officials leading local economic development departments within municipalities. You know, they come with predetermined and preset ideas. Our research has found that the local entrepreneurs, we've interviewed more than 1,000 local entrepreneurs in various townships across the country, and we have found it's about access to finance is what local entrepreneurs want. The second thing that local entrepreneurs are saying, be the bridge, link us with the formal economy. Because if we keep the informal economy in the townships and not bridge it, that is what they want. The local entrepreneurs said, help us to identify new markets, help us with product development. Don't have an activity-based approach to local economic development, but have a programmatic approach that is sustainable, where we can link the formal and informal. We need in this country, and that is what Professor Saint-Pierre Blanche also said, there's a lack of social solidarity. And we have seen with COVID now, you know, health and COVID affects all of us. And it is the same principles when it comes to economic development. As long as we're excluding the township or the informal economy, we will have these patterns of protest. Now, you've asked the question about oversight. Councillors do not have a direct say when it comes to the appointment of service providers, but certainly they have an oversight responsibility by asking questions at the council meeting and receiving reports. And so the role of a councillor really should be to ask, how many local people have been benefiting through our procurement processes? Because local government have got a role to play to stimulate and to create that enabling, conducive environment for local people to thrive. That is what local entrepreneurs are telling us, that local government is not creating that conducive. They're not using the procurement process in a fair, open and transparent way to enable local people to do business with the municipality.